Welcome in, guys. Man with No Game 45 here. I have something very special to share with you all today. Later on in this video, you'll be watching me beat match 177 of the Nightmare Tower with gold cards and a Fusion 1 diamond card. But before we get to that, I've got some extra treats for you today because it is Halloween. For those of you who aren't already aware, there is a bug with the brutal ending talent in the game. Unfortunately, the bug often will cause you to lose matches, but in boss fights like this, there is a small chance that it could be of particular use to you. While I am not someone who advocates the use of bugs in the game, as you'll see here, even though I am trying to use the talent properly, what it does is kills a boss with full health who is tagged out and tags out Ravenous Melina in her place instead. As we'll see here in a moment, Ravenous Melina will come back in without her typical Tarkatan tag-in passive and with 1 health point left from the brutality that was done on her. Now, I certainly do not advocate using bugs or exploits within the game. However, this is a bug that the developers have made it almost impossible for us to avoid, because to beat some of these bosses, you are required to use either Brutal Ending as a talent or Deathmark. And the trouble with Deathmark is that it often does not apply or stay on long enough to kill bosses that might resurrect. So definitely beware of this bug. It could freeze your match, but it also could very well be necessary to win your specific boss fight that you're in, and it may have the off chance of landing a boss at 1 health and giving you an easy victory.
Brutality.
Most of the time, thankfully, it works the way that it should, and you're able to use it to beat bosses like this match here in 160. In fact, it is almost absolutely necessary to use to beat them, because without using a brutality or without the Deathmark talent, each of these bosses would come back with a half of a bar of health, and then we would be forced to bring them down, whittle them down all the way again to the health that they were at. And you probably run out of time if you have gold cards like I do here in this particular fight. The biggest problem here is that brutality equipment is required. In this case, the Shirai Ryu Tower brutality equipment for Scorpion. And you'll get a look here. I actually could have finished this match in about 1 minute when I tagged back in with Strike Force Scorpion. However, he wasn't quick enough on the draw here and got caught. And there's Raiden's brutality for you. Shocking! All right, let's take a look at how we build that talent tree featuring Brutal Ending or Deathmark. I always start with Mantis Stance just because the AI is always blocking, so it's always going to add some damage to your attacks. Precision, you really only need if you're going for Brutal Ending, because Deathmark applies with each hit. There's a potential chance for it, so don't bother maxing that out necessarily unless you need combo enders or going for Brutal Ending. Also, Lin Kuei Tutorage. I find this is a very handy talent to have because it increases the damage boost of your critical hits. However, as we're going to see here with Black Dragon Training, even having these increased critical chances in this tower can create some issues because they can lead to lethal blows on bosses who are now wearing the Killer Jacket. Yes, the MK Mobile team didn't just take away our wonderful teamwork talent. I think they must have seen videos like mine of people who were mowing down their bosses in these towers, and they wanted to make sure they pumped the brakes on them. So now there's a piece of equipment that after a boss gets hit with a lethal blow has a percentage chance to activate a shield, and it's a very high percentage chance, as you'll find out, if you run this kind of talent tree setup. However, I still recommend running it because how else are you going to do a massive amount of damage to these bosses? And then lastly here, I'm selecting Brutal Ending because I did have the brutality equipment necessary and the diamond character needed to do it. From there, as I've said in the past, the support tree has pretty much been neutered. I, at this moment, don't really find it to be worth investing points in. However, it's still debatable if it's really worth investing these points into the defensive talent tree, because most of these talents only have about a 20% chance, yes, a 1 in 5 chance of activating. So even though you have them, 80% of the time, they're going to be useless to you, except for things like Shogun Dominance and OIA Tech. But even then, I doubt you're going to necessarily feel those talents most of the time. They're really not quite that useful. So again, I'm very unhappy with the new talent tree. All these builds I'm putting together right now featuring the defensive tree, they have effectiveness for you, but it's rolling the dice. You're only going to get them when they're maxed about 1 in 5 times that you're hit. So hopefully you're being hit with hits that hit multiple times and trigger that percentage multiple times. Otherwise, they're probably not going to be useful to you, unfortunately. That being said, I still find the stun immunity to be particularly useful. Stun and power drain immunity, that comes from Red Dragon training. So I typically will max that talent out if I'm working with very few talent points. And OIA Tech, it's just so critical if you do get power drained not to lose all of that power. All right, now one final treat for you all. Many of you have been asking me how I do well in survivor mode. My pro tip for you is to find a team that doesn't have any multipliers, only equip them with the ice bomb, and be able to win those 9 matches with them. This will give you the opportunity to use the teams that you really want to use with the multipliers on lethal and elder if you have the diamond difficulties, because you're going to get way more points for those difficulties. So as you can see here, I'm just going to blow through these 9 matches with this team. Even with multipliers, I sometimes recommend this team because they're pretty much a sure thing to win 9 matches with practically no gear, thanks to Covert Ops Cassie, her block breaking, as well as Combat Cup Johnny Cage's dominance. He is a golden god, as I said to my friend Cento on Twitter. But again, I'm sure there are other gold teams. I'm probably going to be searching in the weeks to come for teams without multipliers in the given week to use, so that I can finish and open up those difficulties without paying the price. And now, what you've all been waiting for, check out the talent tree that I put together to beat 177. Cruel Affliction Maxed is key here because I used 2 gold cards. I used Mournful Katana along with Aftershock Trimmer, and then I used just 1 diamond card. It should be available to all players pretty much, so long as you've completed a full moon event. You have Classic Reptile at Fusion 0. That's all you need him for this challenge, as I'll show you right now. I was actually able to beat it with him at just Fusion 1, so he didn't play that much of a part in the fight. However, his passive takes center stage, and as you'll see here, I use Aftershock Trimmer to tag in an opponent, making them susceptible to his passive. This is absolutely key to winning this match, because otherwise the assassins will keep on regenerating. The other massive key to this match is to quickly tag out Aftershock Trimmer. I highly recommend, as soon as you can tag him out, tag in Mournful Katana instead to power drain, and that way you have him ready to tag back in right away to get that same assassin back in, hopefully poison her again, keep her from regenerating. But, and this is extremely important, you should notice that I am not using Aftershock Trimmer's special. That is because I want a guaranteed hit. So what I'm going to wait to do is I'm going to keep using Mournful Katana until Katana tags out here once again. And when she tags out, I will tag Trimmer back in. And now that she is stunned, I will actually use my special 2 for a guaranteed hit that she won't dodge. And this is going to be enough to take her out. However, we've got to be pretty careful here. We got lucky that we got Jade. The other thing that we're using Reptile for is a guaranteed regen of the team. So I highly recommend, once again, hopefully you've got both the Wrath Hammer and the Bloody Tomahawk, or possibly the Lin Kuei Scepter, to give him at least a full X-ray, since unfortunately they neutered Teamwork. But Jade you need to be especially careful with. Make sure that you're only hitting her while she's stunned, otherwise she's going to retaliate against you. And then you've quickly got to get Trimmer out of there. In this case, thankfully she tagged out on her own. As soon as we can, we're going to get him tagged back in here and try to take out Jade using his special 2 once again. But again, I recommend only trying to hit Jade with a special while she is stunned by Tremor. I do not recommend triggering a special otherwise. You can do combo enders, but if she's already come out of her stun, it's not worth taking the chance. Now folks, as you can see here, Reptile would probably have another full X-ray if only we had the Teamwork passive. So I just wanted to tell you this match is extremely hard. Here we go, we're able to use the special 2 in this case, and I was able to get a combo in there too, and it'll be enough to take her out, which once you've beaten Jade, you pretty much won the match. Bone Shield did come in helpful there for me too though. So as you can see, this was actually an extremely lucky run. It's a lot tougher than it looked. With Teamwork, it would be especially easy. Well, with Teamwork, the way it was pre 3.0, especially because Trimmer has a shield on his X-ray, Katana has blind. Both of those would have been extremely useful to be able to use back to back. But again, since we've taken out Jade, this is pretty much a done deal. We're going to tag in Trimmer, stun her, and that's it, folks. It's tough. It's a lot harder than it looks, but we just beat 177 with 2 golds and a Fusion 1 Diamond Classic Reptile. As I always say, the reception of this video is extremely important to me, so be sure to like, subscribe, and share with others if you want me to make more, and follow Man with No Game 45 on Twitter.